Social music talk.
Yeah,
I'd have all the
yeah,
data. I'd look at all the data every week. That we did requests and we
yeah,
kept track of the album sales and the
yeah.
whatever album single sales. But I actually started looking at album sales, and that's what helped the station a lot. And guess what? It was FM 102 that actually gave me the secret to winning, mixed in with my philosophy. But I had dinner one night with Dr. Dave Ferguson, who was the PD, and Chuck
He was a
Field.
cool dude, man.
Yeah,
He was a cool dude.
and Chuck Field, who was, I believe, MD at the time. It might have been that Chuck was PD and then Dr. Dave was a higher title or whatever. But that
Yeah,
Dr. Dave was doing the programming.
jamming Chuck Field. Yeah, man, I
Yeah.
remember him.
So anyway, they're our competitor, and that's where you started originally as an intern, right? And then you went to Quad, right?
Well, all I did was I applied for an internship. There were like 100 people who were applying for the same damn internship, if you will. And because FM 102 at that time, before Quad really blew up in popularity, um, at that time, everyone wanted to be an intern at F102 because it was like, the trendy, fashionable thing to do. And I didn't want to wait around behind in a line of 100 people from Sac State and AR and Sac City who wanted to be there. So at that time, not there wasn't that many people who understood what Quad was about to become. Frankly, they didn't really believe in it. I did. I was like, the people that are there, and I'm just a punk ass kid at the same time. So it's not like I'm like really, really smart. I just had a hunch that if nothing else, they were doing something. Quad was doing something that I naturally liked. That was not necessarily fashionable at that moment.
Right.
Is all it was.
Right.
I never did get an internship at FM 102. I made some friends with people who were internships, and I'll never forget the minute that they heard me on the air at Quad. They're like, "Man, you only been there a couple months. I've been here for like over a year at FM 102, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, well, it is what it is, man. I remained humble about it, but I felt very pleased in the decision that I had made, and it totally worked out for me. Just follow your heart, man. And for me, my heart, led me to Quad. It wasn't even like a big deal. It wasn't like a big smart move that I thought that I had made. I just ended up over there at Quad, and it was perfect. That's all it was. Kismet. Nothing bigger, nothing deeper than that.
Yeah, well, that's a cool story, man. And then Quad was not really a competitor to KSFM, which was called FM 102.
Right.
But we still, I met with them all the time. I was buds with them, and we went to dinner, frequently, or at least time to time. And what Dr. Dave told me that made Quad's ratings skyrocket, I think, because the results were right away, was to take our top 15 artists, whatever they are, that legitimately top 15, however you would decide that, and then just
Right.
play them in a string around your clock, however long you want it to repeat, but it should repeat like every whatever hour and a half,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But that string of artists, you play different songs in that string, but make sure they're like monumental songs that your whole audience loves. And
Right.
that was the secret, I thought, that really torqued up our ratings. In '93 is when the station officially went alternative. It had been
Yeah.
CHR playing alternative, but it officially switched to what was called new rock and in R&R in '93, and then the following year it became
Right.
alternative. That year our ratings skyrocketed, and we zoomed past '93 rock, and that's
Yeah.
when we took over the market for like 2 or 3 years, and
I remember that.
and we were an indie station, and that was unlike an indie station doing that, beating a corporate competitor. So I that's my story. But I think my accomplishment more was like what I did with you. We found local music for the market, and I'm proud of that too because Cake became a really big selling band. They sold millions, and
Yeah.
I helped put them on the map. So I'm happy about that.
That's when people ask me about some of the most fun I've ever had in radio, and I've been in radio for 29 years, from 1992 where we are today. When people ask me about some of the most fun times I've ever had in radio, can you believe, Alex, that I still cite the sound of Sacramento with Alex Cosper at Quad 106 is some of the most fun I've ever had. It was the most
Wow.
organic. It was the most organic thing I've ever done on the radio with these local bands, these bands from our town that we grew up with, that we eventually became friends with, that we are now doing this, this interview of these bands that have all these hopes and dreams and talent and great songs and great shows. And for us to give them a platform to talk about what they want to do, about what they love and where they hope to be, and to play their music, the first people in the world to be able to play their music, it just gave me such a sense of pride and joy. And still, that's one of the things I talk about when people ask me, hey, man, what's one of the funnest things you ever done in radio? Was it when you interviewed Lionel Richie? Was it when you interviewed James Brown? Was it when you interviewed Ann Wilson or Howard Jones? Those are all wonderful things that I've done. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Was it when you host a dance party on Coffee TV? That's an awesome thing that I've done. But for some reason, I never leave out the time that Alex Cosper and I launched, invented, and hosted the Sound of Sacramento on Quad 106.5.
Wow.
I don't know what it is, man. Even though that's the very beginning, and in the grand scheme of things, most people would be like, "Ah, man, that's just where you started. No big deal, man. You did this, you did all of that, And I'm like, "Yeah, I've done a lot of things, but man, it starts with the Sound of Sacramento. First of all, that's one of my hometowns. Dealing with people who I grew up, at least around, even if I didn't know them at the time when I met them. But that was dope, Alex. That was effing dope, straight up, bro."
That's beautiful, Morris, and I agree with everything you said. It just was a great time. If someone asked me what was your funnest thing, and it was probably doing that show with you and finding new music, and just
yeah.
In general, that musical vibe, that period was really cool because it felt like everyone was on the team and contributing.
Yeah.
And it just had a really cool cultural vibe to it, a real nice, friendly community to it.
Plus, all the people that we worked with were so damn cool, man.
Yeah, totally.
like we mentioned earlier, Dean Burkett, who's Axel Marley is what he called himself on the radio.
Right.
Adam Smash, Sean Cash, and I were freaking roommates, man. He actually went on to do great things at Quad with you, him and Jeff Jensen.
Right.
Pat Still, what's up with that dude? We had an awesome crew, man.
Yeah, you know what, though? I think all of us that you mentioned idolize you the most because you went on to San Francisco television as well as radio. Tell us about Coffee TV.
So Coffee TV approached me a while ago. They were they were relaunching the station, rebranding and relaunching the station, and they wanted someone to come through and do hosting segments between some of the shows. So the word got out that I had done a little bit of TV here and there, but nothing on a regular basis. And so when they brought me in, I was doing that. And then they decided that they wanted to relaunch a classic show that they had done in the 80s that was featuring music of the 50s. But they wanted to reinvent it and now celebrate the music of the 80s, called Dance Party. When the Dance Party was on in the 90s and late 80s, they celebrated sock hops, and so you had this music of the 50s and 60s there. So move the timeline up 25, 30 years, and now they want to celebrate the music of the 80s, and so they reached out to me to do that. And this is before I Heard 80s at 103.7 became a thing. In fact, it's several years before it became a thing. So they didn't even know that I had a connection to 80s music like I did when they brought me on to do it. Next thing you know, it becomes like a Bay Area. It revamps itself and becomes a beloved fixture of Bay Area TV and culture. And even to this day, people are still discovering the show for the first time and falling in love with it.
Wow. When is that show on? When is that show on?
It's usually on Sunday night at 8:00.
Okay.
It does tend to move around depending on their programming priorities. But for the most part, it's on Sunday nights at 8:00. Sometimes Saturday nights at like 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that.
Right.
It's been it's funny, Alex. We recorded over 100 episodes of that show, and then in the last 3 years, it's been on a hiatus. There's been management turnover. There's been ownership turnover. There's even been a physical location of the station itself that has moved 2 times since. So they've been playing a lot of reruns. But they have been still in contact with me about, hey man, we're getting ready to relaunch, Dance Party. We want to make sure that you're still down. And of course I am, man. It's one of the coolest things to be the host of a television show that celebrates the music that we grew up with, the music that is now being celebrated all over the world, and now on a radio station and many other radio stations like that within the iHeart media group. And I'm the host of this stuff. It's quite an honor. It's quite an honor. I'm very humbled to do it. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I feel like it's a blessing and a gift, and I don't feel like I'm owed to do that at all. The fact that the show came to me and they sought me out to do it is a huge honor. Again, I think it's they see in me the collective of all the people that have come in my life and brought to me what I have. From people like my friend Carl L. to members of my family. And again, to people I started my radio career with, Alex. I don't mean to keep just gassing you up, man, but it's people like yourself, Alex. It's people like Sean Cash and Jeff and Jerry and Adam and Al and Dean. All these people are what make me who I am and what got me ready to do what they wanted me to go from radio to now do on TV. It's Alex, it's your fault, dude. How you like that?
That's just wonderful. Everything you're saying, it's going down for my audio resume.
Good.
Endorsement from Morris Knight.
Right. It's all Alex's fault.
But, I want to ask you, on that show, do you interview artists? Like, is that where you get to interview big-name artists?
Honestly, in my recollection, we've never had an artist on the show.
Okay.
The show has taken on a life of its own based on, imagine this, Alex, based on just great music from the 80s, and that's all.
Wow.
People are lined up around the block, Alex, on any given Saturday morning when we're taping for hours, starting at like 6 a.m. is when they start lining up. And they want to be a part of a TV show, a dance party show that celebrates the greatest decade of music ever, and also the greatest fashion. They get all dressed up, and it's not because they have an expectation of meeting someone, some music celebrity. It's not like we're going to get Berlin to do a guest appearance, or somebody from Human League, or somebody from even I don't want to use the word lower, even more accessible artists like Club Nouveau, or Night Ranger, bands that are a little bit more local to have on the show that we probably could have. That's not why they're there. They're there, Alex, because they simply want to dance to the greatest music ever and be on TV doing it, because there's some characters there, and and that's the simple reason why. So we've never had anybody. Any huge people to interview. The people that I've interviewed have all been for the radio station that I work for. So
social music.